Jaya Rama Kunja Bihari Jaya Rama Kunja Bihari Gopichandra Vallabha Giridhare Gopichandra Vallabha Giridhare Jasanandana Vajajanandana Jasanandana Vajajanandana Jamunatira Shari Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Padivajaka Hasta Taradaka Shishima Swami Maharaj Rupari Ki Jai Yaskam Pandavacharya Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Pratita Pavana save the fallen souls Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada pouring the whole universe with an ocean of ecstatic Krishna Prema Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajrakacharya Astadharshi Shrimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Rupari Ki Jai. Sananta Kodi Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Paramsa Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shama Kund Arakund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Navadip Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Jamuna Mai Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaura Premananda. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nivashesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine. Do we need all these fans? Maybe we do. Because it makes the recording not as good. Are the fans required? If the fans are not required, we can turn them on. They'll make a better recording for the people who listen on the internet.
I'd like to welcome you all this evening to this evening's program, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce His Grace Sriman Sangashan Das Adhikari. Maharaj, we're very fortunate to have Maharaj here for several reasons, and I will humbly try with these 4 words that I may choose to introduce Maharaj. Maharaj is a disciple of our founding Acharya, Srila Prabhupada. He was initiated by Srila Prabhupada in 1971. On the orders of Srila Prabhupada and with the blessing of ISKCON's governing body, the GBC, he has been initiating disciples since the year 2000. In the year 2003, he started an online course where he now has over 16,000 subscribers in over 100 countries. If you would love to receive beautiful inspiration daily via email, where there's a thought for the day, which are just beautiful nectarian words that you can take in through and just bring it into your heart and live your day each life in with a bit more Krishna consciousness, you can join the course, and this web address is really easy. It's joincourse.com. Maharaj travels the globe twice a year preaching to spread beautiful nectarian words to fill our ears and fill our hearts, and he's joined around the globe with his dear wife, Krishna Priyamanaji. I mean, I could stand here all night and just try and describe Maharaj to you. However, we don't have the time and I don't have the words. So with those humble words, I will now hand over to Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
So I've been asked to speak tonight about devotee relationships. And actually I'm very delighted to speak about devotee relationships, because Krishna consciousness depends on devotee relationships. It doesn't exist independent of devotee relationships. This is stated by Krishna to Arjuna in the Adi Purana. He says, Ye me bhakta jana parata, na me bhaktas tate janaha, mad bhaktanam chiye bhaktas, te me bhakta tamamata. He says, my dear Arjuna, the one who is my devotee, na me bhaktas, he's not my devotee. But the one who has a good relationship with my devotee, he is my devotee. So just see how important it is. If you want to be a devotee of Krishna, you're not going to be accepted by Krishna unless you know how to devote yourself in good relationships with Vaishnavas. So this is an absolutely essential seminar tonight, to understand how I can actually become qualified to be accepted by Krishna as his devotee by learning how to properly associate with his devotees. So in this connection, there's a very nice verse given by Srila Rupa Goswami in the Upadeshamrita, text number 4. It's also called in English the Nectar of Instruction. Dadati pratigridnati ghuyam akhati prichyati bhungte bodhayate chaiva shadvidang pratilakshanam. Translation: offering gifts in charity, accepting charitable gifts, revealing one's mind in confidence, inquiring confidentially, accepting prasad, and offering prasad are the 6 symptoms of love shared by one devotee and another. So, it's not that our love only goes to Krishna, you see. We have to learn how to love Krishna's devotees. A very essential thing. And these are the 6 ways that you can have loving exchanges with devotees. You can give gifts in charity. That can be an actual tangible gift you can give a devotee. It could be a donation, like we give the preachers donations to help them with their preaching work. Or you could be service. You can give the gift of your time and energy to help a devotee do something. And you can also accept, it's a reciprocal thing. You can also accept the charity given by others. Very gratefully accept the service and the gifts that others may want to offer to you. The next item is revealing one's mind in confidence. And then to inquire confidentially. In other words, you may have some concerns about how you can advance in Krishna consciousness. So you find a devotee who's qualified to guide you, and you openly reveal your heart to that devotee, fully reveal to him what is your situation, so he can understand your situation and help you to advance. And then you should be willing to accept the inquiries of others. Someone may come to you also and open their heart up to you. You should open your heart to them. Or even just just like here in hearing this seminar tonight, you see. You should open your heart to, I'm opening my heart to you, you see. of revealing to you what I've learned about Krishna consciousness from 43 years of practice. I'm trying to take everything I've learned in 43 years and give you the essence of it tonight. I'm opening my heart to you. So as I'm opening my heart to you, you should open your heart to me. That is loving exchange, you see. And then accepting prasadam. If a devotee offers you prasadam, you should honor that prasadam, appreciate it, respect it. And you should also offer prasadam to devotees. So in this way, by these 6 loving exchanges, we can make very nice progress. Prabhupada actually gives a mundane example. Even in the material world, these 6 loving exchanges are going on. He gives the example of a businessman. He's trying to make a business deal with some other businessman. He gives him some gifts. He invites him for dinner. He reveals his business plans to him, you see. So even in ordinary dealings, these 6 loving exchanges go on. There are normal function of one who wants to cultivate a relationship with someone. Even somebody wants to get married, the same thing goes on. You know, that you give a gift to you give her a gift, you invite her for dinner, you say, I'd like to marry you, you know, the same principle. Those are all going, these 6 loving exchanges are a universal thing. So if you take them and you apply them to Krishna consciousness, the same principles, then you'll find that you can advance very nicely in this pathway of Krishna consciousness. And actually, once you start to open your heart up and learn how to have loving relationships with devotees, you go, wow, this is fantastic. Because devotees are the most lovable people in the whole world. A devotee is not some greedy person who wants to exploit you for his sense gratification. You see, a devotee, his happiness is to see that everyone is engaged in serving Krishna. So when you actually serve Vaishnavas, it's the most satisfying relationship that you could ever have, you see. Sometimes people, they say, well, what about all my old friends? I've come to Krishna consciousness. Well, you can maintain your friendships with your old friends. Now you can relate with them in a more wonderful way than you ever did before. Now you, instead of thinking what you can get out of them through your sense gratification, you can think, how can I benefit my old friends by helping them to awaken their actual natural state of enlightened consciousness, which is sitting within their hearts at every minute. You see, actually, human life means you have the key. Human life means you hold in your hand the key that unlocks the door to a life of eternal bliss. You see? This material world is a place of misery, you see. There's birth, death, old age, and disease going on, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. It's miserable. It's a miserable situation. To want to stay young, be forced to get old, want to stay healthy, be forced to get sick, to want to live, but be forced to die again and again and again, going through it, you see. It's a miserable situation. But the human life, out of all the 8,400,000 species, the human life means now you have a key, you can get out of the prison, you see. In every other species, you have no key, you're stuck. But in the human life, you have the key. You just have to know how to unlock it, you see. You have the key. Human life is the key to unlock the door to eternity, knowledge, and bliss. So to know how to properly associate with the devotees is an essential part of how to unlock that door, how to enter into your eternal loving relationships in the spiritual world. Now the impersonalists, they say spiritual liberation is you merge into impersonal oneness. So you can understand somebody who has that philosophy, they're not going to know how to make good loving relationships. You see what I'm saying? Their philosophy is actually selfish because they think, I am God, you see. So for such a person to actually have loving relationships, it's difficult for him to do that because his whole philosophy is based on a conception which is devoid of love. But the devotee, you see, he's in a position to actually have genuine loving relationships. And Prabhupada told us, our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada told us that we will have another ISKCON in the spiritual world. That means that loving relationships you're cultivating now will go on forever. your guru, your god brothers, your god sisters, your god nephews, your god uncles, your god... It's a huge network of loving relationships in this movement, and those will go on eternally in the spiritual world, you see. We have many ISKCON centers in the world, you see, right now on this planet. And we have many devotees. But there's another ISKCON center in Goloka Vrindavan. And there's a growing number, it's becoming a very big center. Many devotees have gone back to Godhead. The ISKCON devotees are there, and they all know that we're ISKCON devotees. And they're waiting for us to come and join them in Krishna's pastimes, you see. So the relationships we have now, they will carry into the spiritual world. So, be careful how you relate with devotees, because we're stuck together forever. Don't think, well, he's in another temple, so I can be rude and not worry about it. He doesn't live here in Melbourne, so no. We are an eternal spiritual family. So when you relate with devotees, understand this is an eternal relationship, forever. So let me try to make it qualitative, you see. Not a sloppy relationship with selfishness, greed, lust, anger mixed into it. Let me make this relationship pure. And then the result will be, the more we can develop loving relationships with devotees, the more we become qualified to enter our eternal identity in the spiritual world. Because the whole goal is to love Krishna, but we can't see Krishna. We can see the deity, but still we're not able to communicate like a liberated soul can with the deity. You see, where you can talk with the deity talks to him. A liberated soul can do that, like Prabhupada. He can talk to the deity will talk to him. You see. We're not on that level yet. We're a bunch of neophytes, you see. But we can develop loving relationship with Krishna's representatives, the devotees. You see, that we can do. And by that because the devotees are representatives of Krishna, to whatever extent we actually develop pure loving relationships with devotees, that automatically translates into pure loving relationship with Krishna. So that begins with, if you're in a family of devotees, your husband, your wife, your kids, cultivate a relationship based not on the body, but based on your spiritual identity as eternal servants of Krishna, you see. Don't get caught up in this male-female, some kind of complex. Understand you're eternal servants of Krishna. And the relationship you cultivate now will carry you into the spiritual world if it's a pure relationship based on the spiritual identity of the selves that you're dealing with, namely yourself and the other devotees, you see. So always think big. In the long run, don't think short run. You may have a conflict with some devotee, but understand that it may seem like your whole life you'll have a conflict with that devotee. You just can't get along. But believe me, that whole life is like that compared to eternity. It'll be over very quickly. So even if you have a hard time with getting along with the particular devotee, just be very tolerant and very respectful, because all those things will go quickly, and when you go back to Godhead, there'll be the relationships there are absolutely perfect. There's absolute perfection of all relationships in the spiritual world. There's all kinds of relationships. There's 5 different types of devotees: those in neutrality, those in servitorship, those in friendship, those in parenthood, and those in conjugal relationship. And all these devotees, there are millions and billions of them, all of them are centered around Krishna, and they're all perfectly relating with Krishna and perfectly relating with each other also, for the purpose of enhancing each other's Krishna consciousness. Nobody is trying to shove somebody out of the way. The mood there is everyone is pushing everybody else to Krishna, you see. Just like Radharani is a good example. What we can really learn from our mother Radharani. She's our original mother, Radharani, Mother Radharani. If you approach Radharani and say, "My dear Mother Radharani, Krishna is very hard to approach, but now I find you easy to approach, so you kindly put in a good word about me with Krishna." Radharani will very happily do that. Prabhupada told us in London that if you approach Radharani, she will say, Krishna, just see, here is this devotee, he is a better devotee than me. Now, you can imagine, there's no devotee as good as Radharani, you see. Just imagine if Radharani tells Krishna that this devotee here, so-and-so Das, or so-and-so Dasi, is a better devotee than me. Do you think Krishna would be interested? Would Radharani recommended someone like that? Sure. Krishna go, really? A devotee better than you? Let me see this devotee better than you see. So then Krishna will take note. So, and that is the mood of the Brijabasis, the internal inhabitants of the spiritual world. They're not trying to push you out of the way so they can be with Krishna. They're trying to push you forward and say, Krishna, here is a devotee better than me. That's the mood of the spiritual world. No one's trying to be on a power trip, trying to exploit others in the spiritual world. Everyone's trying to push everybody else closer and closer to Krishna, you see. Everybody wants to see that everybody else has the sweetest, most happy relationships and pastimes with Krishna at every minute. So that's the mood of the spiritual world. It's called the Brijabasi spirit, you see. So we want to translate that same mood of the Brijabasi spirit here to the community of devotees. Because if we do that, guess what? We'll find that we're in the spiritual world immediately. You don't have to wait for death to be liberated. If you can develop the mood of a Brijabasi right here in Melbourne, you'll be living in Vrindavan, right here in Melbourne. You'll be living in Vrindavan, even though you're physically here in Melbourne, but in your heart you'll be in Vrindavan. Prabhupada says Vrindavan is actually in your heart. So if you develop the mood of a Brijabasi, one who is trying to help everybody to be Krishna conscious, the humble servant of everyone, trying to help everybody to be Krishna conscious, you see. That's the mood of the preacher. A preacher wants to make the whole world Krishna conscious. That's why he's living in this world. He has no other mission except to make the whole world Krishna conscious. So that mood, you see, if we can have that mood in our dealings with each other, let me help you to be Krishna conscious, you see. Just like a spiritual master, for example. He shouldn't think, well, here I am visiting this temple. Let's see how many disciples I can add to my disciple list. You see, that's material conception. Spiritual master should think, how can I help these people to become more and more Krishna conscious? That's all. No other desire, no other motive. How can I help these people to be more and more Krishna conscious? That's the mood of pure bhakti, you see. Not how can I add more people to my disciple list to become a more famous guru. That's completely materialistic. How can I help these people to be more and more Krishna conscious? You see, that's the proper mood for a spiritual master. So the same thing applies to everyone. Everyone should be simply thinking, not how I can increase my name and fame in ISKCON, how I can get a bigger position at the temple or a bigger position in the movement. No, how can I help everybody around me to be more Krishna conscious? That's the mood. And you enter into that spirit, you become completely free of anxiety, because now the only thing that you need to be satisfied is to help others to be Krishna conscious. You don't need to be glorified, you don't need to be worshipped, you don't need to be recognized, nothing of that stuff. All you need to do is try to help everybody else to be Krishna conscious. So, if there's any questions, you can pass them forward. There's some papers and pens. I don't know if there's any, I see some questions are there. So at least get one of them here quick so I can have something to do. Okay. As Bhumi Devi is also Vishnu's wife, why did she have to go to Brahma for help? I don't know the details, but that was, I don't know her, I don't know about that. She's Vishnu's wife. Is Bhumi Devi Vishnu's wife? I don't know. But I know that's a system. The demigods, she's the demigoddess of the earth, and the demigods don't directly go to Vishnu, they go to Brahma, who then goes to Vishnu. That's the system. Okay. I have a taste for hearing lectures, but I don't have a desire to read Prabhupada's books. Well, that means because you're not reading them. if you start reading them, you'll develop a taste. They say, well, I have no taste for ice cream. Oh, you ever tried it? No, I never tried it. Well, just try some ice cream. You'll develop a taste real quick. You got to do it, that's all. Read the books. Just go ahead and read. Just give yourself, just start off very simple. 5 minutes a night before you keep a book by your bed, 5 minutes every night before you go to sleep. Just do that little bit, and I guarantee it'll grow on you. Wow, this is amazing. Do yourself a favor. Get the ultimate mercy of Prabhupada's association. Prabhupada is fully present in his books. The greatest spiritual master in the history of the universe will personally enter into your heart. If you just read his books, and Prabhupada will enter into your heart. And you'll become completely free of anxiety. You just got to read his books. That's all you have to do. Of course, you have to follow it also, but that'll happen naturally. If you read his books, naturally you become a follower of Prabhupada. Naturally it'll happen. How do I develop a desire and a taste to read the books? I just explained that. And whenever I read Srila Prabhupada's books, I often forget what was the point in the previous pages. That's all right. But right now, let's face it, we're very spaced out. Our brains can hardly hold anything. It's just like, pouring milk through a sieve. It's just practically nothing is retained. That's our present state. But if you keep reading, gradually, your mind will develop the ability to retain what you're reading. And before you know it, you'll be reciting verses, you see. Before you know it, you'll be memorizing verses. Chintamani pakarasadmasu koppa vriksha laksavrateshu suravira vipalayantam lakshmi sahasra shatavandamameyavanam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is tending the cows in abodes built with spiritual gems, surrounded by millions of purpose trees, and always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds and thousands of Lakshmis or gopis. You see, before you know it, verses will start sticking in your brain, and you can recite them when you're going up and down the elevator at your job, Just, on the way to your office, in the elevator, you can be reciting some Gita slokas on the elevator. If you're alone, you can chant them out loud on the elevator. So do it. Do yourself a favor. Don't cheat yourself by not reading Prabhupada's books. Do yourself the ultimate favor by reading Prabhupada's books. Okay. How to convince people that humans do glide in the lower species after death if they do not follow the scriptures. You have to be convinced. Now, if you be convinced, you can convince anyone, you see. Conviction is a contagious disease. If you have the conviction that Krishna is the Supreme Lord and we're all His eternal servants, you can convince anybody. You see. If you're really convinced, you can even sell ice to an Eskimo. What should be the immediate action a devotee takes if he commits Vaishnava aparadha, obeisances, and begging forgiveness? What is the best way to control our emotions if we become angry so that we do not chastise other devotees? When you get angry, just say Krishna, just go Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. How to practice to be the servant of the servant in everyday living with the devotees. Well, serve the devotees, that's all. Just serve them as much as you can. Try to serve as much as you can the other devotees. How to pray the Lord to protect our devotee relationships all the time. Krishna, please bless me that I will have nothing but pure loving relationships with all your devotees. How to become humble and tolerant. Krishna, please bless me, I can be humble and tolerant. In other words, if you have the desire and you beg Krishna, do you think he'll ignore it? Krishna wants you to be humble and tolerant. If you beg Krishna, please give me humility and tolerance, my dear Lord, Krishna will satisfy you. I am an introverted personality, and it's difficult for me to for deeper and personal relationships with other devotees, to create them. What am I supposed to do? Just be a humble servant, even from a distance. There's one guru who didn't want to accept service. One devotee wanted to become his disciple, and he refused to accept any service, so he secretly served the spiritual master. So if you're so shy, you can secretly serve, you see. It's like maybe the shoes are all out in the hallway or all a disoriented mess. You can arrange all the shoes very nicely and neatly. So when the devotees come out, instead of a big mess, it's all very nicely arranged, you see. It's an example. You can even secretly and privately do so many services. You know, go clean up the yard. Go around and pick up any garbage in the temple yard. You know, there's so many things you can do if you want to be a servant. Why don't we allow other devotees to eat prasadam from our plate? Well, a devotee thinks, I'm contaminated, why someone should... He feels humbled that it's contamination. Anything from my plate is contaminated. That's his humility. And why we don't allow them to touch our feet? Actually, feet touching means actually getting karma from that person. So generally that we avoid letting people touch our feet. That's Prabhupada's instruction.
Touching the feet also means a surrender. If you are not going to follow the instruction, then that person is no sense touching the feet.
She's saying that touching the feet means actually I'm surrendering to you. So sometimes the spiritual master will let his disciples touch the feet because they're actually surrendering to him, you see. And he's taking their karma anyway. This is a basic question. We take Krishna's darshan by looking at his feet, thigh, waist, chest, and face. How do we take the darshan of Radharani? Same way. How to control the mind while chanting. Just keep it fixed on the mantra. Keep bringing the mind back. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. How can I help an old friend who has a huge debt, and even though she is a great believer of God, she feels not qualified to approach him because of her situation? Bring her prasadam. Bring her prasadam regularly. Krishna is not going to let her starve in spite of her debt. Why is it so important to have home deities? Actually, it's not necessary. You can have photographs at home and then come to the temple as much as possible. If you want to have home deities, we recommend Gaura Nitai, because as soon as you get into Jagannath, it's a higher standard, and Radha Krishna is a very high standard. And those standards require certain rules and regulations which you may not be always able to follow, and that's called Seva Aparad. So we recommend, if you want home deities, get Gaura Nitai, because there's no offense you can commit against Gaura Nitai. They don't accept any offenses. But with Jagannath and Radha Krishna, it's more strict. So we recommend not to get those deities unless you've gotten your spiritual master's permission, that you're qualified to worship them. Let's see, how do we chant the Lord's names lovingly? Prabhupada says, like a child crying out for the mother. That's the mood. How do you overcome fear of devotees, human relationships, and develop trust? By association, by doing kirtan together, by taking prasadam together, by engaging in these 6 loving exchanges described in this verse. That's how you overcome the fear of having relationships with devotees. It's easier to trust God, but humans have faults. That's true. But we have to trust God when He tells us to associate with the devotees. You understand? God is telling us, you must serve my devotees. So do you trust Him? That if you follow his instruction, then things are going to work out okay. You say you trust God, all right, then follow his instruction. Trusting God means trusting his instruction that you should associate with his devotees. When we offend some devotee and seek forgiveness, do we have to tell them that I have offended you, or just offer obeisances? It's better to say, Prabhu, I really, I said that to you the other day and I really feel it was an offense. I wanted to apologize. It's better to say exactly what it was and apologize for it. Anytime you want to add something, just kind of give me the nod. I'd like to chant and follow the process of bhakti, but I don't like to associate and talk openly to devotees. Can I be successful in bhakti by myself? Only up to a certain point. There's the bhakti path has different levels. The first level is shraddha or faith. The second level is associating with devotees. The third level is getting initiated, following all the principles. The next level is anartha nivritti, cleansing all the dirt out of the heart. The next level is nishta, becoming solidly fixed in firm faith. The next stage is the stage called ruchi, where you get an unbelievable taste by chanting the name. And then there's the sakti, when you become totally, completely attached to Krishna. And then there's bhava stage, where ecstatic emotions erupt within the heart like volcanic eruptions. And then you come to the prema stage of pure love of God. So if you don't associate with devotees, you're going to be stuck on the first level, the shraddha level. You see, that's all the further you'll go in Krishna consciousness. You'll miss all the other levels, because association is the second step. You can be on the first step. I have faith in the process, but I don't want to associate with devotees. You can do that. But you're going to miss out on spiritual perfection until you can learn how to to love the devotees. So if you're having trouble, you should seek a devotee who can guide you how to overcome your difficulty in associating with devotees. You should find some devotee you can trust and reveal your heart to that devotee as described here. Please help me, I'm having a hard time relating with devotees. Some of the devotees are always critical of me. How should I deal with these devotees? Make them your closest associates. Those should be the devotees you gravitate towards, because they can help you the most to advance in Krishna consciousness. Those who point out your faults. What is the meaning of sectarian as we know Krishna is the Supreme Lord? Sectarian means that only the name of Krishna, you see. Krishna is the only name of God. Allah is not bona fide, Christ is not bona fide, Buddha is not bona fide. There's only one name for God, and that is Krishna. That's sectarianism, you see. But we have a universal understanding of religion, you see. That Allah is a name for God, Buddha, Christ, Papa said also is a name for God. So that's a non-sectarian understanding of the science of God. And actually, as soon as you have a sectarian concept, it's no longer science, it's dogma, you see. So Krishna consciousness is not a dogmatic approach to religion, it's the science of religion, it's a different thing. If a senior is correcting you and you feel that it is incorrect, how should you to react to advance properly? You should find out what's your defect where you think that his correction is incorrect. In other words, if you're being corrected and you're thinking he's incorrect, you got your head on backwards. Because someone who's actually senior is correcting you, you're wrong. Of course, if he's not really senior, that's another thing. That happens sometimes. Somebody's acting like they're a senior, but they're not really senior in terms of realization. So in those kind of situations, you have to have actual senior devotees that you can inquire in specific circumstances. But as a general principle, if someone is actually your senior and they're correcting you, you should accept it. Yeah?
If one finds it's wrong, then they can immediately inquire, what is the mistake I have done it?
Yeah, if it's not clear, you were corrected, and you say, Prabhu, I appreciate very much your correction, but I don't understand how what I did was wrong. Can you kindly enlighten me what I did was wrong, how it's wrong, so I can understand in terms of Prabhupada's teachings? You can do that too. Please enlighten me how it's wrong, because, you know, I've been reading the books and I never saw anywhere this is wrong. Maybe it's something I didn't read that Prabhupada said, so kindly enlighten me, you see. Kindly enlighten me. What is the difference do you find people ask questions now and 20 years before? Well, one thing, we're a much more developed community now. And I get much more questions about devotee relationships. I wasn't giving devotee relationship seminars 20 years ago. 20 years ago, when I joined, the movement was very small. It was a very tiny movement. I remember we went to Mayapur, and I was amazed. Oh, look, here's some Indians who joined. There's a small handful of Bengali boys who joined. We were all white-skinned Americans, Australians, Europeans, and there was just a few little, maybe 5 or 6, maybe 10 Bengali boys. Oh, look, some Indians joined. So the demographics have quite changed, and the whole mood is, it's much more like a family and a community now. It was more like a military organization then. Of course, that military aspect is still there, of submission to our authorities, but I find it's much more of a family atmosphere than it used to be, which is nice. And that way the movement is improved and matured. Is it good to talk about Krishna with friends even though they're not interested to talk about Krishna? It's not so good that if they say something against Krishna, you have to be careful. It's better to give them prasadam. You know, find something that turns them on and excites them. If you're going to talk about Krishna, you have to do it in such a way that it stimulates their interest. Then it's good. If they take it like it's some kind of what they call a wet balloon, and oh yeah, we don't want to hear that stuff. It's better that you shouldn't. If you can do it in such a way, they go, really? You see. It's a matter of how you present it. You see, there's an offense called preaching to the faithless. You don't want people to, there's a saying, don't cast your pearls before swine. See, you don't want to give them Krishna in such a way they criticize Krishna. That's not good. But if you're intelligent, you'll know how to explain Krishna in a way they become fascinated. It doesn't have to be Krishna directly, it could be the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, you see. Prabhupada actually told us, he approached them and asked them, what is your philosophy? And defeat it. That's step number 1, you see. That's what you can do with your friends. Get into philosophical discussions with them and defeat their philosophy. And then you can show them the higher philosophy, you see. Now they're ready to hear. They've been defeated, they want to hear. It's better to do it like that. Of course, then make it in a pleasant way, not some egoistic thing, like not you come in like a philosophical gunslinger and want to shoot everybody down, not in that kind of way. But in a pleasant way, a stimulating thing that enlivens everyone. That's how you have to do it. How to always have some enthusiasm in Krishna consciousness? Well, I always answer, Prabhupada ordered me to always be enthusiastic, so what can I do? It's my Guru's order. So, if you just take it as the order of Prabhupada wants me to be enthusiastic, so let me always be enthusiastic, then you got it right there. It's a matter of being obedient to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada he wants all of us to always be enthusiastic, so do it on the order of Srila Prabhupada. And now you're covered. Now you're always enthusiastic because you're surrendered to Prabhupada. How to always have gratitude towards all the devotees. Yes, this is very, very important. The attitude of gratitude will make you in Krishna consciousness. If you don't have the attitude of gratitude, you're not going to make it in Krishna consciousness. So, it's sink or swim. Attitude of gratitude, you're going to make it. No attitude of gratitude, you're going to drown in the cycle of birth and death. So you better develop that attitude of gratitude. I always feel that I don't have enough intelligence for preaching. Jai, that's the beginning of intelligence. If you think, oh yes, I'm very intelligent for preaching. That's a pretty stupid thing to think. You should think, Prabhupada said, I have no bhakti and I have no knowledge. That was what Prabhupada felt about himself. So you have that humble mood that I'm just completely unqualified to preach, but Krishna, you please give me. I remember one time I was in Fiji and I was asked to give the Lord Nrsingadev lecture, his appearance day. There was a temple room just full of like 300 people. And I'd been really tired. I'd stayed up late the night before. I took a nap in the middle of the afternoon. You ever wake up from the middle of the afternoon nap and you feel like a zombie? So I woke up. It was time to go to the lecture and I was like, how can I possibly give a lecture to these 300 people about Nrsingadev? I don't even feel like I'm Krishna conscious myself right now. What can I possibly do? Krishna, please help me. As I said, please, Krishna, I feel totally unqualified and unfit to give this lecture. Please help me. So just in a humble mood, I begged Krishna. And I went and gave that lecture and the temple room exploded with ecstasy. So it was Krishna's mercy. You just have to be humble and feel you're not qualified and beg Krishna for help. And it'd be amazing when the miracles that come through your mouth when you take that mood. I wonder how many devotees so nicely relate to other devotees. Well, I can tell you there's thousands and thousands and thousands of devotees that relate nicely to other devotees. I travel all over the world, and it's heartwarming for me to experience the wonderful love of so many devotees in this movement. It's so sweet, it's so wonderful, it just makes you cry with ecstasy. There's so much sweet, loving relationships here in Melbourne and everywhere I go. I wish to do that too, but for some reason I'm not able to. Please help. Just have the desire and Krishna will fulfill it. Maintain that desire. I want to have loving relationships with devotees. If you maintain that desire, Krishna will fulfill it.
It's not only the desire. It's not only the desire. If you have a desire, you act on it.
Yes. Try to do it. Make the endeavor to give gifts to devotees, give service to devotees, open your heart to devotees, open your heart when they inquire from you. So, if nothing else, volunteer to serve prasadam. And immediately, you're doing wonderful service. Always volunteer to serve prasadam, you see. How to correct younger devotees without killing their enthusiasm. Appreciate them. Genuinely appreciate their wonderful enthusiasm. And then try to correct them in such a way that their enthusiasm will increase. Just like I had to correct my disciple the other day. I said, actually, I'm very pleased with you, but I would like to tell you something that will make me even more pleased with you. If you can do this one correction, I'll be even more pleased. Instead of saying, I'm really displeased with you. I figured that might squelch his enthusiasm. I said, actually, I'm very pleased with you. Now, if you can make this correction in the way you're doing the service, I'll be even more pleased. That's an example. Can you please advise how to know if I should be accepting brahmacharya ashram or grahastha ashram? Well, this is a very personal thing. I'd have to know specifics. This is a private one. This is not a public thing in front of all the devotees. Should you get married or stay brahmachari? It depends on the individual circumstances. Now, ideally, one should stay brahmachari, but that's not practical for everyone to do that. So, for some, it's better to get married. It depends on the situation. What is the importance of Mangal Arti? Mangal Arti means you're welcoming Krishna into your day. You're beginning your whole day based on accepting Krishna into your day. You see, it's a very important thing. Can you please describe how to have the relation with senior devotees and equal devotees? That's described in the scriptures. Senior devotee, you bow down at his feet. You offer your service, you inquire submissively, and you sit and hear and learn from the senior devotee. Equal, you share your realizations. You make friendship with your equals. Do we have to seek forgiveness from a devotee if we offend them mentally? No. A mental offense is not an actual offense, although it can become an offense if you let it grow from the mental plane. You see, thoughts turn into, there's thinking, feeling, willing, and acting. You may think some bad thought about a devotee, it's okay. You don't have to apologize. As long as it's just a thought, and if you start to feel like doing it, still you don't have to apologize. But actually do it, then that's when you have to apologize. Because otherwise we have so much dirt in our heart, we may have to go around apologizing all the time, you know. But the thing is, if you have to, thinking isn't an offense, but if you don't check it, it turns into willing, feeling, and acting, and then it becomes an offense. Why do we need to do Krishna Bhakti? Because that's who you are. You're a devotee of Krishna, but you forgot. Now you're misidentifying with a gross material body, and because of that you're suffering countless eons of miseries in the cycle of birth and death. You have to do Krishna Bhakti, otherwise you're going to remain in a suffering condition. Of course, you don't mind suffering, you don't need to do Krishna Bhakti. But if you want to actually become happy and liberated from all the anxieties that we suffer in this material world, you have to do Krishna Bhakti. There's no choice. Why do we need to go back to Godhead if this life cycle has been made by God? You don't have to go back to Godhead. You can remain a pure devotee in the cycle of birth and death for preaching Krishna consciousness. It's not that one can become a pure devotee and experience Krishna even here in this world at every minute. It's not necessary to go back to Godhead. Therefore, a devotee, the pure devotee, his mood is, Krishna, just let me serve you and be with you constantly, wherever I may be. I may always associate thee within my heart. May always be pleasing you, you see. In this way, a devotee doesn't care whether he's here or back to Godhead, the pure devotee. You mentioned that it is not recommended to have deities at home apart from Gaura Nitai. If somebody already has deities at home and feels that he or she is not eligible enough to have it at home, what should we do with those deities? You ask your spiritual master. That's between you and your Guru Maharaj. That you have to ask him, because that's your relationship with him. Sometimes we serve senior devotees and mentors, but do not receive love and reciprocation from them. Now wait a minute. You're not recognizing the love and reciprocation you're getting from them. You need to, you're finding fault with them. That's what you're doing. You're finding fault with them. And that's not good.
What is the question?
Sometimes we serve senior devotees and mentors, we do not receive love and reciprocation from them, and that makes us demotivated in our Krishna consciousness. How to overcome them? Huh? Speak louder, please.
You serve the senior devotees mentally or what?
I serve the senior devotee, but he's not reciprocating with me, and therefore I'm demotivated. He didn't pat me on the head and say, "Oh, Prabhu, you did such nice service." Maybe he even scolded me. But actually the scolding is also loving reciprocation from an advanced devotee. An advanced devotee chastises you, that's loving reciprocation. So you have to learn how to take whatever comes as mercy. And then you'll never be demotivated. I remember my godbrother Guru Kripa Prabhu. He was collecting huge sums of money in Japan. He was practically single-handedly funding the construction of the Krishna Balaram temple. His service was so much appreciated by Prabhupada, and he would regularly come with big sums of money and just put it right, give it to Prabhupada right there in his room. He would come in from Japan with huge sums of money, and sometimes Prabhupada would wouldn't even pay. pay even any attention at all. He just put it there. Prabhupada wouldn't even say a word. He wouldn't even acknowledge that he had come into the room with the money. Why? Because he probably is getting a little proud, you see. Prabhupada, in other words, the Prabhupada was doing everything perfectly. Just to help. Another example of actually the same devotee, when he was the GBC in Hawaii, Prabhupada called him in the middle of the night, he said, "Bring Guru Kripa," told the servant, "Bring Guru Kripa." So Prabhupada said, "Why are you sleeping?" In the middle of the night, like 2 o'clock in the morning. "Why are you sleeping?" And he said, "Prabhupada, I'm working, at 18 hours a day. I need a little rest at night so I can keep doing my service." And Prabhupada said, "Well, I'm not sleeping." He said, "But you're a pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada." And he says, "Why are you not a pure devotee?" Prabhupada chastised him for not being a pure devotee. When a spiritual master or a senior devotee, we may think, we may not understand sometimes how he's relating with us. We may think he's not being fair to me, he's not understanding me, but actually it was the greatest blessing. Can you imagine being chastised for not being a pure devotee by Srila Prabhupada? How much that would purify your heart? I mean, I wish I had gotten that mercy. I mean, that's really special mercy, to be scolded for not being a pure devotee in the middle of the night. And then Prabhupada Prabhupada chastised him so heavily he got angry. And then Prabhupada pacified him by telling him some Krishna book stories and say, "No, go take rest." So we have to learn to take whatever comes from our seniors as the mercy, you see. And now you'll always keep motivated. How to overcome the feeling of getting fame, even in devotee communities. Instead of actually just try to always give credit to everyone else, you see. One may become famous, but that will be a fall down for you. If you get attached to being famous and glorified in worship, your days are numbered in Krishna consciousness, I'll tell you right now. Always be in the mood of giving fame and glorification to the other devotees, you see. The more you become famous, the more you should give fame to the others. You see what I'm saying? Because the more you glorify others, that's how you advance. You did not advance in Krishna consciousness by becoming a famous preacher, a famous singer, a famous this, a famous guru, or anything. That's not how you advance in Krishna consciousness. You advance the more you give fame to others. The more you appreciate others, that's how you advance. So if you're getting a lot of fame, then offer it back. If you're being worshipped and appreciated, then offer it back to the others, you see. Offer it to your Guru Maharaj. Give him the credit. That's what Prabhupada did. He said, "I have no credit for what I've accomplished," he said. "If I have any credit at all, it is simply that I always obeyed the order of my spiritual master. That's the only credit I may be able to claim." He never take any credit for anything else. So in that mood, if we follow that mood, we'll be fine. How do we know who is a senior devotee? Okay. There are a number of etiquettes in this connection. One etiquette, who was initiated first? There's a pastime in Boston where Pradyumna was sitting in the room with Prabhupada, and there was another godbrother of his who'd been initiated before Pradyumna was. Pradyumna moved himself a little closer to Prabhupada than the other godbrother was sitting, and Prabhupada said, "No, he is your dada, your older brother. You do not sit closer to the spiritual master than him." Prabhupada chastised him. So that was just on the basis of who got initiated first. So we always offer respect to those who are initiated before me. That's one etiquette. Now sometimes that devotee may be fallen, but still you offer him that respect for his initiation. But another way of senior is who's actually more Krishna conscious. Another way of senior is who's more elderly in age, and very elderly devotee, 50, maybe an 80-year-old devotee, you respect him because he's 80 years old, you see. That's another way of offering respect. Another respect is position. A GBC, a temple president, initiating guru, you see, sannyasi, There's in other ways you do it. So there are different ways you can measure seniority, but ultimately, the real seniority is who is more advanced in Krishna consciousness. That's the ultimate criterion for seniority. My enthusiasm goes down when I see other devotees doing much better. I have an answer for this one. Prabhupada, another one of those wonderful instructions I got directly from Prabhupada. Because I was in a little remote temple, the Austin Temple, started by Vishnu John Swami in '71, and Prabhupada never came there. Actually, he wrote me a letter. He wrote me a letter offering to come, but our temple president was scared to invite him. We might make an offense. Better not Prabhupada come here. That was a big mistake. But anyway, Prabhupada never came to our temple, so devotees would come through. Yeah, I was with Prabhupada on the morning walk. I was there in the darshan with him, and Prabhupada said this, and Prabhupada did that, and I was on the morning walk. I was going, oh, wow, I can't handle this. The envy is eating me alive. I can't handle this. So I said, I shouldn't be envious of these devotees, so I wrote Prabhupada a letter. Because envy is bad, right? So I said, Prabhupada, I have this envy of my godbrothers who are getting your association more than me. What can I do, Prabhupada, to get over my envy? And Prabhupada surprised me by his answer. He didn't tell me how to get rid of my envy. He said, transcendental envy means when you see someone who's being recognized more than Krishna, you should try harder so that Krishna will recognize you also. So, if you see other devotees who are doing better service than you should think, now let me try harder so I can come up to that standard that I see in them, or maybe even better standard. Let me be inspired by them instead of depressed by them. Let me be inspired by them. Here, practical example, someone plays a really good mridanga. I mean, really, really good. They make that mridanga sing, you see. So I can think, yeah, he must be really puffed up, yeah. Yeah, puffed up. So I'll never be able to play mridanga if I have that attitude, you see. But I think, oh, wow, he must really be dedicated to Krishna, to Guru, to Lord Chaitanya. He must be really dedicated to kirtan, and just see how he takes that dedication and he channels it into the mridanga. It's so wonderful. If you have that attitude, you will also become an expert mridanga player, you see. So this is the key. When you see enthusiasm in others, appreciate it, admire their enthusiasm. And guess what will happen? By osmosis, you will absorb that same enthusiasm into yourself. Why do you drink the water without letting the cup touch your lips? Because I don't want my cup to get moochie, Prabhuji. We are talking seriously, but a little sense of humor is okay too. Could you please advise how to control my mind when I see beautiful devotees? Actually, this reminds me, Prabhupada in the early days at 26 Second Avenue, he said, collect all the beautiful girls and give them to Krishna, and he will dance rasa dance with them. So if you see, oh, this devotee is so beautiful, you think, oh, then this devotee is for Krishna's pleasure. All these beautiful girls here, you see, they're not for my enjoyment. They're for Krishna's enjoyment. He can enjoy seeing all these beautiful girls dancing for his pleasure in the temple room. In this way, you have to think all these beautiful girls, they're for all of Krishna's pleasure, not for my pleasure, you see. And he will enjoy more. Actually, Prabhupada one time said, that's how to enjoy women. Engage them in Krishna's service. That's the way a man can actually enjoy women, you see. If you try to enjoy them on your own, it'll always turn sour. But if you engage women in the service of Krishna, that's how to enjoy women. Prabhupada explained like that. So don't try to be the enjoyer, just try to see that Krishna is always the enjoyer, and then you will enjoy on an equal level with Krishna, you see. Can we have some more kirtan at the end of the questions? I don't know, it depends how long the questions go. one side on one side a person is dying, another side Vyasa Puja is going on, what is more important, a devotee? Mercy or prayer? If a devotee is dying, everyone should go and do kirtan for that dying devotee. You see? Now that's an emergency situation. If a devotee is actually dying, and devotees should all go and chant for him to give him a safe passage back to the spiritual world. How can we how can we see Shikadev Goswami? I, with my understanding, understand that he was born as Brahmavadi. Oh, how do we understand him? Okay. Not physically get to see him. Okay. Yes, but I do not feel when he talks about Sri Ram or Sri Krishna. How to reconcile this? He was not born as a Brahmavati or a personalist. Before his birth, he was a Brahmavati within the womb. But he became born actually after he remained in the womb for 16 years, and after hearing Srila Vyasadeva, his father, reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, then after he was converted to a Vaishnava, he came out of the womb of his mother. As a Brahmavati, he was afraid to come out of the womb because he knew he might fall into Maya of all the sense objects. In the womb, there's no senses and sense objects problems. There's no way to fall down in the womb. There's nothing to fall down with in the womb, you see. You come out in the material world, there's opposite sex, there's food, there's prestige, there's so many money, there's so many things that can divert your consciousness. So he did not want to come out of the womb for fear of falling into Maya. So for 16 years he remained in the womb of his mother, and then once he heard the Bhagavatam, he has no fear now, and he came out. But just to play it safe, he didn't stick around the house, he headed out immediately. As soon as he came out of the womb, he headed out running. He didn't even bother to get any clothes. He just started running naked. He got to get away from the house. He didn't want to get entangled by household life. He wanted to take sannyas immediately. He came out of the womb, immediate sannyas, boom, took off running. His father is running after him. My dear son, we love you. Please come home. And but he kept running. He wouldn't heed his father's call to return home. As he was running along the way, there was some beautiful, some beautiful young girls. There's a practice in India. They would bathe naked in the river in a private place. You know, just the ladies go, ladies only area. They would bathe naked, skinny dipping we call it in America. But they would. He ran by that area where all the women were there, and they all immediately. They didn't bother him, because he's like a little baby. His whole consciousness, even though he was 16, he was a fully developed young male. His consciousness was like a little baby, so they didn't bother to cover up. But then when Srila Vyasadeva came, they all ran and got their clothes, because he was a householder and he had to make distinctions between male and female. Otherwise, how you can be a householder? So, a little bit of Shukadev Leela there.
You said that his mentality was childish, but how did he spoke the Bhagavatam?
How he spoke the Bhagavatam? Because simply by hearing from Srila Vyasadeva,
that means his mentality was not childish.
He was fully mature in self-realization, but he had the innocence, like the Kumaras did. He was completely innocent. He wasn't seeing male and female. Oh, there's these beautiful young girls. He wasn't seeing like that. Like a little baby doesn't see those kind of things, you see. So he didn't have any sex urge or male hormones that were all buzzing around like the males normally have, you see. He was completely beyond that level. So in this way, he was fully qualified to speak the Srimad Bhagavatam. So any more questions? That was the last question. And do we have time for kirtan? 5 minutes? Thinking it'll be too long of a kirtan. See, the thing, we get up at 2:30. My wife and I get up at 2:30 in the morning. And so it's, you all can do a kirtan if you want. We're going to, this is kirtan also. The Krishna Katha is kirtan. So, but if you want kirtan, come tomorrow morning. I'll be doing a kirtan tomorrow morning here. We have wonderful kirtan at 4:30 a.m. Beautiful Gravastakam prayers we sing. And then there's the wonderful Nishinga prayers, and then there's the wonderful Tulsi prayers. And then we have the Guru Puja. So many wonderful kirtans. So please come in the morning for kirtan. And relish the bliss. So we thank you all very, very much for your wonderful questions. I hope that it will stick, just one in ear, not the other. I hope you will take it very seriously in spite of some little bit of humor there. I hope you take it very, very seriously that I have to learn how to perfect having loving relationships with devotees. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.